Welcome back to the channel where I provide regular cricket content on interesting topics. Today's video is the first of two whereby I am running through what I believe were the best battles in cricket history. To the uninformed, cricket is perceived as a gentleman's game and not one in which you'd associate with battles. But anyone who has played the game at any level can attest to the fact that at times it is a gladiatorial contest between bat and ball. So this is my look back at the 10 best battles in Test cricket history. Number 10, Steve Waugh vs Wasim Akram, 1994, Rawalpindi. This was a good one for an independent party like myself, especially as both players had caused such misery to England over the years. Like many, Waugh struggled against Akram over the course of his career, but like the fighter he is, he never rolled over. On a surprisingly green pitch, Akram clearly made the decision that he was going to test Waugh with the short ball. What followed was a brutal period of fast bowling with pinpoint accuracy. Waugh made reference to it in his autobiography by saying, "It was the quickest, meanest spell I had ever faced." He continued stating, "He either didn't like me or I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Nothing was in my half of the wicket and it was all genuinely quick, the ball leaping off the pitch with spite and venom." Waugh was in almighty trouble, hit on multiple occasions and never looking comfortable. Despite clearly struggling, Waugh gutted it out to score the scrappiest 98 you could ever see. He achieved a couple of things that day, however. Firstly, he earned Akram's respect. Akram in an interview stated, "He didn't middle a ball, but he stood there and got 98 and that was very impressive. I just wanted to kill him, as a bowler. That was probably the quickest I've ever bowled." The second thing Waugh achieved was to drag the Aussies into an excellent position in the game. They carried a huge first innings advantage and it was only a double century from Salim Malik which saved a draw for the home side. Over the course of his career, Akram probably got the best of Waugh, but on this day the battle was won by the tough Aussie. Number 9, Robin Smith vs Courtney Walsh, Antigua, 1990. Going into the final game of the series, amazingly England were in a decent position. The score was tied at 1 each and England were hoping for a memorable series win. The West Indies had other ideas, of course. At times, a game of cricket can unexpectedly explode into action without any apparent cause. Like with this battle, and Robin Smith, a fine player of fast bowling, is getting ready to face a challenging half hour before tea alongside Alan Lamb. What unfolds is a remarkable display of aggressive bowling from Walsh, who unleashed a barrage of short-pitch deliveries aimed at Smith's open-faced helmet. Despite being a good player of the short ball, Smith was unsettled, using a combination of ducking, weaving, and deflecting to counter the onslaught. However, in the penultimate delivery before tea, Walsh manages to deceive Smith and strikes his unprotected jaw, causing a wince-inducing injury. Almost instantly, a noticeable swelling forms, indicating the severity of the impact. Walsh extends his hand in a gesture of concern before resuming his run-up with increased pace, delivering a final fierce bouncer. Smith, displaying resilience, evades the ball, steps back, and exits the field with a smile on his face. An element of sadistic satisfaction is implied in his reaction. The crowd erupted, but Walsh stood and stared. Smith would retire hurt and the West Indies would go on and win the game and the series. So this battle was won by Walsh. Number 8, Brian Lara vs Muralitharan, 2001. This battle is not over the course of an innings. Instead, I want to highlight what was an epic series of player versus player. After a string of poor performances, for the first time I could remember, Lara's test batting average had dipped below 50. He responded, however, like the champion that he was, by working harder on his game behind the scenes than he ever had. The West Indian great, however, had a daunting task ahead of him. They were set to play Sri Lanka away from home in a 3-test series. This was a time when Murali was really coming into his stride and was tormenting the world's best players, especially at home. But from the moment the plane touched down, Lara was like a man possessed. On turning, spitting pitches with Murali spinning it at right angles, Lara produced what was probably his best series ever. In the 3 games he scored nearly 700 runs at an average of 115. It was like a boxing match of two of the greats dueling it out, day after day, but with Lara getting the upper hand. Lara played with discipline, taking on advice from Garfield Sobers, who told him to cut out the sweep shot against Murali. The advice and the tactic clearly worked. That isn't to say that Murali was bowling badly. He too had a staggering series, taking 24 wickets including 2 10-wicket hauls. Sri Lanka won the series 3-0, with no other batsman being able to cope with both Murali and Chaminda Vaas. But in the much-hyped contest between Lara and Murali, the West Indian clearly won that battle. Number 7, Michael Clarke vs Morkel, Cape Town, 2014. I haven't given Morkel enough shine on this channel so far, because he was an excellent performer for a number of years. He reminded me actually of a West Indian-style quick bowler, who used bounce and hostility to trouble the very best. In Cape Town in 2014 his hostility was on full show. Bowling just short of a length he troubled Clarke from the moment he came to the crease. He was struck on the helmet and chest area repeatedly in a spell of fast bowling which was hard to watch. This was to the point that the Aussie team medic was on the field on 4 separate occasions. But it was one delivery which reared up and struck him on the shoulder that caused the most damage. Clarke used his best poker face to conceal the fact he had suffered a fracture. The tough Aussie batted on and on, with Morkel unrelenting in his barrage. Clarke however was unmoved and went on to score one of the most gutsy Test hundreds you could ever see. He finished the Aussie first innings on 161 not out, with Morkel going wicketless. The Aussies would go on to wrap up a comfortable win, in massive part thanks to Clarke's heroics. He was rightly lauded in the press with what was described as a do-or-die mindset. Clarke may have suffered an injury but he clearly won this battle. Number 6, Ishant Sharma vs Ricky Ponting, Perth, 2008. This is a battle which requires a bit of context and backstory. It was a time when Australia were on a momentous roll, and were vying to set a new record for the most amount of Test wins in a row at 17. The game was being played in Perth, a venue in which India had never won a Test. This battle featured a 19-year-old newcomer against the best batsman in the world. There could only be one winner, right? Sharma however bowled the best spell of his career and possibly the best spell by an Indian in Australia. He had Ponting on the ropes throughout, working him over with short balls but then finding movement when he dragged the Aussie onto the front foot. Sharma was handled brilliantly by Sachin who was fielding at mid-on. Tendulkar kept checking in with him and telling him, "Keep doing what you're doing, you have him rattled." Ponting, like the champion he is, however battled on, despite being lucky to avoid multiple excellent LBW appeals. But Sharma was not to be denied on that day, finally getting his man caught by Dravid. The spell was what Sharma was quoted as the best he ever bowled and that it changed his life. Ponting too was extremely complimentary, stating in an interview that it was some of the best bowling he had ever faced. Sharma's career never quite lived up to his start and of course Ponting is an all-time great. But on that day, during that battle there was only one winner, Ishant Sharma. This brings part 1 of this 2-part series to a close with plenty of great battles left in the tank. Anyone who has watched the channel before knows what is coming next. Let me know who you think I have in my top 5 and give me some of your best battles you can think of. I love reading through the comments to see what nuggets of cricketing knowledge you guys come up with. As ever, thank you all so much for watching and participating. Until next time.